Hello and welcome to another episode of All Elite Arcade. It's a brand new week. Plenty of video game news out there in the world. I'm Evil Uno here with my friend TheCHUGS. How are you?
Yes, I'm doing pretty good. Uno. It's been a wild week, my friend.
I know.
It's been a very, very wild week.
you are in the middle of what I would call a nightmare situation.
Yeah. It's kind of been a nightmare for sure. For anyone who's followed me, as far as Chugs goes, whether it be streaming on Twitch or what have you, a lot of people know that I'm in the process of moving. And honest to God, Uno, and everybody who's listening, the move has been kind of a nightmare. I was very worried about where my stuff was. I wasn't totally sure when it was going to arrive. I did find out that it did indeed arrive. And unfortunately, I touched base on this a little bit in my Discord, but didn't go into a ton of detail. But unfortunately, a ton of pretty important stuff to me broke in the move, which was really soul-crushing, specifically video game stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have a custom arcade cabinet where the screen is destroyed. I have a gaming chair where some of the wheels are missing. I did find the wheels, which is good, so hopefully I can put them back together. My monitor on my PC, the handle was kind of taken apart. I don't know where the screws are. So I'm still in the whole process of trying to figure all this out and get everything situated, especially to get back to streaming, because that's one of my favorite things to do in the entire world. So it's
been almost a month, right?
It's been a long time. Yeah, it's been 3 weeks. It's been at least 3 weeks. So I'm really, really hoping that after this episode drops, that this upcoming week I'm going to be back on stream. I'm hoping this weekend, honestly. I'm hoping that by the time you're listening to this, I've already streamed. That's what I'm really, really hoping for.
I hope so for you too. Like I've been traveling a lot too, but if it wasn't for video games, I don't know what I would fill my time with. I don't even know what you're doing.
Right. Yeah. Just being stressed.
Yes.
Being super stressed.
That sounds fun.
Yeah. So, but again, I look at life this way, and again, these are really important things to me for sure. But looking at it in perspective, I have so much to be thankful for. I love this new home that I moved into. I'm already imagining what I'm going to turn my game room into, which is where I'm sitting. This is the first podcast episode we filmed where this will indeed be my game cave in my basement, which I'm really excited to build. And make something really, really special. But it's definitely been very stressful trying to get everything put together and get everything situated to not only get back to gaming, but get back to streaming as well. Also, there were a couple boxes that were left on the truck by mistake, which is a massive, massive bummer. It's just one of those nightmare situations. But again, things could always be worse. I'm very thankful, and I'm excited to jump back into gaming and streaming very soon. So hopefully the next episode that we film, instead of me filming it on my phone, I'll be on my nice PC with a nice new monitor within the game room. So other than that, I'm doing well though. I'm excited to get back to gaming though. I haven't had the chance, Uno, to game very much. Have you had the chance to game much this week?
I've been actually quite lucky. So I'll touch base on our Elden Ring progress because I know you have done none, which I feel real bad about because by now I feel you probably would have been on your second run of this DLC. I feel like that's probably where you would be. I'm at Radon right now, so I've finally made it to the final fight. I think other than one big optional boss, I beat all the bosses too. So
nice.
Yeah, unless you know what, I probably have to go through a walkthrough to be certain I've combed a lot of the areas and I don't think there's anything hidden left. I could be wrong. That's the beauty of Elden Ring.
I know.
I when I hit Mesmer, I was starting to get angry and flustered in a way that I was like, maybe the people are right. Maybe it is an impossible game. Maybe they made it too hard. And then I beat Mesmer, and since then beat a ton of other bosses. And then I'm like, nope, everyone's just a baby. I'm just the greatest player of all time. You know that feeling, that Elden Ring feeling where suddenly I'm filled with so much confidence because I can do it.
I'm invincible. Yeah.
Well, I'm right back to the Mesmer status because Radon is. I've yet to get him lower than half of health. That is wow. and I don't know how many phases are in this Radahn fight. It could be numerous. I should have said, I'm so sorry, everyone. Spoiler, there's a Radahn fight in the video game.
Yeah.
So I can't tell you more. You can. I will tell you none of the story implications of it. But it is very difficult. I've had a few opportunities where I thought, like, okay, I get it. Like, I see, like, the 5-hit combo. Here's my opening when I can get, and just so that I'm clear, I'm still playing Bloodfang. I'm still playing Mimic Tier. I just defaulted to what worked for me. I know that a lot of people are like, that's the easy mode. Well, this game's hard. I'm gonna do it this way first. And
again, very quickly, I will stand by this. After that Miyazaki interview, that should be all that anyone listens to.
Yes, straight up, he says he can't do it without doing Mimic Tier and calling in people. That's why it's designed that way. It's incredibly difficult of a last fight. I don't know if it's unfair. I don't feel like it's unfair. If that could, like, I know a lot of people are publicly saying that, like, this ruined the whole DLC. I don't think it's that. But then again, I'm only at the halfway point. There could be another phase, or there could be in these. He could reanimate when I beat him, and there could be another battle entirely. So there could be a reason why people are like that. But right now, it's going to be in my Game of the Year list for sure. There's no. This might be the best DLC made ever at the moment. At least as like a continuation to something. I'm still enjoying it a whole lot, and I need to finish soon because we're going into like the fall months before holiday where everything starts coming out. So I've got we probably have like a 2-week grace period where we can actually get this done.
Uno, I'm gonna have to get back on stream ASAP and I gotta beat this DLC.
Yeah,
I don't have time anymore.
You're not even at Mesmer, right?
Oh no, I believe I am in the final area of the game. I did beat Mesmer.
Yes, that's right. Okay.
I actually beat Mesmer first try.
That's right, you told me this. Oh, yeah.
Yes. So, but Uno, I have heard nothing but horror stories.
Yes.
Of the final boss of the Elden Ring DLC. He seems incredibly intimidating. I'm incredibly nervous. And then also, because it's Elden Ring, so excited. To me, so far, I have not encountered a Soulsborne Sekiro boss, to me, that has been unfair. Yeah. I think there are some that are incredibly challenging. Don't get me wrong. Very, very challenging. So I'm so curious when I finally get to this epic final boss in the DLC, how I'm going to fare. I'm sure I'm going to be in huge trouble, but I'm really excited.
Yeah, I think you'll do good for sure. And thankfully, that's not the only game stuff I've been doing. I've been dabbling in some Fortnite. I know they have a new Pirates of the Caribbean mini battle pass mission stuff, so I've been jumping in that. It's usually like what happens is the Fortnite season comes out. A ton of people play it at the first part of the season, so it's like about a 3 or 4 month loop, and then it drops down, and then they drip feed you a ton of content at the end. So now, like, when the middle tier of a battle pass, you can get in the top 5 fairly easily. Now everyone's back at the game, and like it is way more challenging, which is actually what I want. You know, like I've now played enough of this game that like I regularly would rank high, and it is very fun to like introduce new weapons every couple months, and just like the higher ranked players come back to it towards the end of a battle pass. So that's been nice. And then my Steam Deck's still broken. I will probably end up sending it out for RMA and also getting an OLED. I think I'm going to do both.
You should, Uno. You should, man. I'm telling you.
Time to treat it. I gotta treat myself a little bit. But
yes, you do. Honor yourself. Honor yourself.
I should. You're right. Give me an old pat on the back. But this laptop has been capable of running some stuff. So I've actually been jumping in a couple things. I jumped on Xbox Game Pass. There was a first-party Game Pass game called, or rather, it's part of the indies circuit that Xbox funds. Dungeons of Hinterberg, which is like it's like hack and slash dungeon crawling game.
Oh, cool.
But it's set in like a ski resort. So like you go to a ski resort, and the concept of it is like you go to relax and fight dungeons and get spells, and then you go back to the resort. It kind of has like, in a lot of ways, it's structured in a way like Persona is, where you have like a dungeon portion, and then you have your real life portion where you interact with people and you advance story stuff. So that's been very interesting. I like that. I've played a few hours of it, and I've liked it enough that I think I'll put a few more hours into it as well. I beat a game called Operator, which is, I don't know how to say this without seeming weird. I have like this fascination with detective and deduction games where if you give me a video game that makes me feel like I'm in an FBI database and I have to search it and like deduce who does a murder and stuff, that's by far some of my favorite video game experiences.
Yeah.
Like having fake computer interfaces and acting like I'm hacking and jumping through like different logs to try and find like common information. It just does something to my brain where I'm like, oh yeah, I could be a detective, which is not true. But I played this one called The Operator, just came out last week. It's about 3 or 4 hours, and it's like you are an FBI operator, so you're essentially the intermediate between an agent and all of like the logged information. So an agent will be like, hey, here's like a photo of a killer, here's some footage. We didn't get anything out of that. Can you search the log? So then you scan faces, or in that log, you'll see like a light is flickering. So you like search on that light and you realize there's another light source. There was another camera, that kind of stuff. And it's really cool. I kind of wish there was more games like that. Because I really like the concept of, it doesn't have to be a police officer, but something about making me feel like I can hack into a thing or solve a serial murder or something like that. It's always been something fascinating.
You love solving puzzles.
I do, dude.
You love solving puzzles, no matter what those puzzles are. Yeah.
If you put me in a real life situation on top of that, and it seems like it has actual weight to it, I'm super into it. So I played that, and then I played a few more hours of Angerfoot. I mentioned it last week. That's what ended up killing my Steam Deck. I don't think it's the game itself as much as like it's just one of those faults that happens on the Steam Deck. I played a few more hours, and it's a lot like I played a game last year called Neon White, where I know
Neon White.
Yeah, so where you like essentially used cards to speed through a level, and you could keep going, but like what actually becomes the loop is once you've completed is like, how much faster can I do this, right? Like how can I make this 33 seconds into 12 seconds? And that's kind of what Angerfoot is. It's you get in to like an apartment. There's 7 rooms, right? You're gonna go through all these rooms to get to the staircase, and that's how it ends. And then it has like its own challenges. Like your main attack is a kick forward. It's like a thrust kick, and you have a gun.
Okay.
So, and it's kind of like Super Hot, where you shoot a couple bullets, you can throw it at someone, pick another gun, keep going. And so the challenge is like, most of these levels last maybe a minute as you're running through and you're killing 36 guys. But the challenge is then, how do I make these 36 people die in 25 seconds without losing health, right? And then you're just like, you get into this weird flow state where you're just kicking through doors, you're kicking a guy in the face, you're shooting another guy, you're throwing a gun at another, you're picking up a shotgun. Like, it's scratching this part of my brain where I actually want to become the best at a level, which doesn't happen very often. And so I've been putting a lot of time into Angerfoot. It's a very fun and unique first-person. It's a first-person shooter, but it's really made to be speedran with a mechanic of like, the melee is just like a insanely strong thrust kick. So yeah, that's what I've been playing. I know you haven't touched a single video game.
I know, which is heartbreaking, Uno. I feel like every single week, well, not every single week, but the past few weeks in the process of this move, I have had such little chance to game, which has crushed my soul. For again, for anyone who watches this, Uno, you know me personally.
I get it.
You know how much it hurts my soul that I haven't been able to game very much. But again, in the process of moving, especially very far, that can be a really, really stressful time. So, and now with me getting my stuff and me being in a position where I'm going to have to probably get some new stuff, I have not been able to game yet very much at all. However, I did move closer to my mother and my brother. And my brother is a huge video game guy. So I've been watching him play a little bit of some Final Fantasy VII mods, which is really, really cool.
Okay.
Like the original Final Fantasy VII, which has been so cool to see, whether it's graphical changes or story changes, which, again, there's this FF7 mod called New Threat, where they add all these new story points and new bosses, and it's really cool to watch. But most importantly, he added a bunch of new music. And through this entire process, Uno, I've been listening to a ton of video game music.
Oh, hell
like
yeah.
a ton of video game music. And again, I've said this before, but I think that FF7 Remake's soundtrack is probably my favorite video game soundtrack of all time. And going through and listening to this album of tracks, whether it's remixes of my favorite songs from the original FF7 or brand new tracks, like, for example, there's this track called Ghoul from Final Fantasy VII Remake. If you have not listened to it yet, please YouTube it immediately. It's an amazing boss fight theme. It's so good. And I don't know. I was thinking a lot in this process of not being able to game very much about how important video game music really can be to a scene. Like I think of how iconic the Halo Combat Evolved theme is, and how much that added to like the final level in that game, or just that franchise as a whole. And I think about Final Fantasy VII having, again, really, really great music. Or I even think like my favorite Resident Evil game used to be Resident Evil 2, the original RE2. But then when RE2 Remake came out, that became my new favorite Resident Evil game. And here's the thing. I love the original RE2 music. And RE2 Remake has really, really great music, but there's less soundtracks within this game. But the soundtracks that they choose to play are so effective for the scene. Like, for example, Leon's escape theme in RE2 Remake, when it's the very end of the game and you're trying to get away and there's a timer saying everything's going to explode. The song, I think it's like, I think it's called Escape from Laboratory or Escape from something with RE2 Remake, but it's such an epic, epic song. It's Leon's RE2 Remake escape theme, pretty much, that just fits so well. So again, just in the process of not being able to play and listening to all these different video game soundtracks, video game music is just the best, man. I said this before. I literally have probably 2,000 video game tracks on my phone, and oftentimes when I get in my car, I will just open up that playlist and hit shuffle. And just listen to video game music when I want to drive. So
I have the same thing. I just wish it sucks because I don't know what you do. Do you go through Spotify, Apple Music, or do you have your own MP3 downloads?
I'm an Apple Music guy.
Okay.
I'm an Apple Music guy.
Do they have
Yes.
a decent amount of video game soundtracks on there?
Oh, they do.
Really?
They do.
Okay.
Yeah, they really do. I have soundtracks from Shovel Knight, from Hollow Knight, from Ori and the Blind Forest, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, the original FF7, 8, and 9, Resident Evil 2, RE3,
Okay,
Halo.
so plenty.
There is tons. And then in addition to that, again, I got YouTube Premium a couple years ago. That was one of the best decisions I ever made, because you can find every video game soundtrack of all time on that thing. So yeah, that as well, if I want to listen to a track that's maybe not on Apple Music. But Apple Music has a ton of video game soundtracks.
Yeah, because I have a huge Spotify playlist as well where I play. And it's funny, like a lot of what you've listed aren't even what's on my playlist. Like, I will say, before I bridge into what's on mine, Final Fantasy VII Remake, like, to show you the effect of music, I remember playing that game and it starting and being like that opening Midgar scene and like starting to get emotional and feeling like, wow, I didn't realize I had a connection to this. But it wasn't the graphical stuff. It wasn't the story stuff. It's when the music starts swelling in. I've cried at that game 3 times, and I never realized I had such a large attachment to the Final Fantasy music soundtrack. Like, as a kid, I remember listening to it constantly. but never realizing it it dug a part of into my brain, and like it made me like remind me of my childhood, and like every time you get to a new city, I would realize like, oh shit, I know the Junon song. Oh my god, I'm gonna cry. Oh, I know Tifa's song. This is Tifa's song. And so like, I think it's used for emotional impact, but like an incredible sound. It's a make or break situation with some video games. If you don't have great music, it could ruin your game.
Absolutely, or it could make your game.
Yes,
because I am so glad that you said this, because I remember same thing. The intro to FF7 Remake, I got emotional when the song kicked in. When it like pans out and it says the title and you see all of Midgar. But then there was another moment where early on in FF7 Remake, when you finally get to Seventh Heaven, you spend the night in the hotel, you walk out, and graphically it's a beautiful game. But then when the main theme from FF7 starts playing in this amazing orchestra composition, I got emotional there too. Yeah. Like there have been so many moments within Final Fantasy games where I've gotten emotional just based on the music. So it is. You're absolutely right. It can make or break a game. And I think a lot of the most epic games that we do indeed love, the music plays a huge part in that.
I think, I mean, if I look back at all the games I do enjoy, a lot of the games I think are some of the best of all time is because the soundtrack has like stayed with me. Undertale, I think, is an incredible RPG, right? It's built in a way that like it has interesting mechanics. It has a whole system you're unaware of. Like it has a deep lore. It has great comedy. But like if I told you my favorite part of Undertale, it would be the soundtrack. I've listened to. I can't believe one guy made this music. Like
it's insane. Toby Fox.
Oh my god,
Wild
that's on my playlist.
Man.
Like my opening playlist always has like I start with an Undertale song, and then I know it'll shuffle through like hundreds and hundreds of songs. If it wasn't for that music, I feel like we would talk well about the game, but it wouldn't have a lasting impression. Same thing with like I think Cuphead, incredible game, beautiful art. Incredibly challenging. On that merit alone makes it a great game. But then you take into question that they build like a full 40s, 50s jazz soundtrack, different songs for every single boss, different levels, you know, because there's stages to the bosses. It goes on. Like that uniformness in a video game is so important. Like Persona, I think those games are cool as hell. But really, to me, I don't even think about the 110 hours I spent with it. I just think about like the 15 songs that are stuck in my head forever.
Music is something that everybody can relate to. Seriously, like it's something that everyone in some capacity is attached to. Like for example, when I play, I know I've talked about this before, but Ori and the Blind Forest, Ori and the Will of the Wisps. After playing Ori and the Blind Forest, and then opening up Ori and the Will of the Wisps, the sequel. And that intro song playing, to this day, again, I know we discussed this, but I could cry. Like the music is just so perfect and so good and fits the tone and the story so well. Video game music is incredibly impactful. I think of another really great song in Hollow Knight, which is the Nosk theme song.
Yes.
It's like the one like horror enemy in the entire game, and it captures that horror feel so well. In addition to have like Reflection is the save room theme, which is so peaceful and so cool. Video game music rules. It just captures exactly what you're going through, and it's the most memorable thing from those games. It really is.
I know we could keep talking forever. I'll give one last nod. I'll give one last nod, but like one game that has left a lasting impression on me is Outer Wilds, which is like it's a space exploration game where. And spoiler, if you haven't played Outer Wilds, you should. It's one of the greatest games, I think, made in the last 10 years. Wow. It is better to be played without knowing a single thing. Now,
I still have to play it, Uno.
Now, I'm going to spoil a very small part of it. It has a time mechanic where it time loops. That is actually the first secret of this game. There is a lot to it. And the beauty of this game is that it has one song played in different formats and in different instruments, and the more you explore it, because it's a time loop, you keep hearing this song, right? That song, if I hear the final version, because at some point the game ends, it makes me cry instantly.
Wow.
That game had a real crazy impact on me. Like I would hope that you get into this, because I think the full experience of that game is incredible. When you're done, I'm not going to say it's going to change your life, but it'll make you think about things pretty differently. And hearing that final song, in a lot of ways, I hear it and it gives you that melancholy, like that sad, but also kind of like happy feeling sad. It's all I'm trying to say is that video game music is so powerful. And I think it's really minimized the impact of what a good soundtrack on a video game is, because while I am definitely a gameplay forward guy when it comes to video games, music will make or break an experience. And in a lot of times, music is the thing that's going to last. Like 30 years from now, I'm probably not going to play Outer Wilds, but I will hear that song and remember the moments from it. And it's the same. Final Fantasy, we played that game 30 years ago, not realizing the impact of like a couple songs on us until we become adults. We hear it again, and then it's like, wow, these songs were so important to me. What is your favorite soundtracks of video games? Please let us know. Mostly because part of what I like doing every year, I like the Game of the Year lists. I love finding all new games of each year. But one of my favorite parts at the end of the year is looking at people's favorite game soundtracks of the year.
Yeah.
Because sometimes there's some insane video game music that may be a part of a game that I just had no interest in. And there's so much out there. The medium of video game music, you could do anything with. It's not a style. You could do anything. And
anything.
It's incredible. It's incredible.
Yeah, Uno, I'm so glad you said that, because literally on my stream, which I can't wait to come back, I miss it so much. And again, to everyone who's listening to this or watching this, and you watch my streams, I promise I'll be back soon. It's just been a crazy few weeks. But we do this routine called Song of the Day, where I have people send in their favorite video game soundtracks, and I listen to it before we jump into the gameplay. That's been one of my favorite things, especially when it's a game I've never played or sometimes never heard of. And then you hear this awesome song. And what I love, too, is video game music. Just video games as a whole are an art form. You have like an emotional attachment to these games, and whether it's the gameplay, the graphics, most importantly, the audio, it does impact everyone in a very, very different way. So it's so cool to listen to a song that maybe I have no emotional attachment with, but I'll go, oh, this song is really good. And then the person who sent it is like, yeah, when I hear this song, I cry. Or when I hear this song, I get goosebumps or whatever. So, yeah, video game music's the best. It really is.
You know what? And I'm sure we could talk about it for hours. Unfortunately, we have also news to talk about, and we will get right back to the news right after this. And welcome back. It's time for your news of the week. It is end of July. Typically, June is usually one of the most important months in video games for the year. You usually hear all of the large announcements, and then like the rest of the summer, it kind of dissipates for a bit until we get into the fall. The big releases come out. But unfortunately, we actually have some pretty crazy news this week, because I don't know if you know this. This week is the Olympics. They're currently in Paris. Your favorite athletes from every country is out there, and they're performing, and they're going for gold. But the video game world is also getting their fair share of news, because the Olympic holds its first ever esports game starting in 2025. That's right.
I love it.
Next year, esports is officially recognized by the Olympics. The International Olympic Committee has just formalized the Olympic Esports Games, with the first one being scheduled in 2025 in Saudi Arabia. That's a 12-year deal that they signed with Saudi Arabia to hold official Olympic esports events on a regular basis. No dates or location, but the announcement is made official. They have said, so they have not made an announcement of what will be on the lineup of video games, but they have flatly said that there will be no Counter-Strikes and no Call of Duties. My assumption is that they probably don't want to showcase first-person shooters where, I mean, Call of Duty, a lot of times it's an American shooting someone from another country, you know, like...
Yep.
Those, there's too much geopolitical stuff.
That's
I think.
Such a good point, Uno.
Yeah.
It seriously is. Because at first I was like, oh, that's wild that an FPS game is not on the list. But you explaining it that way, and I know we talked, that makes so much sense.
Yeah, I think in a world scheme thing, like, while first-person shooters are definitely one of the most exciting things to watch in esports
and competitive.
Yeah, I just think on a national, on a world level, there is some implications of some of these games.
Yes,
but they did esports analyst Rod Breslow, known as Slasher. He suggests that the likely games that will be on this will probably be League of Legends, Rocket League, Street Fighter and Tekken, NBA 2K, FIFA, and likely some mobile games. Now, all of that seems pretty straightforward and good, actually.
Yes.
I would not be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised seeing Fortnite either, considering the large impact that has. I know it's not nearly as big on the esports market, but it is competitive, so I wouldn't be surprised at all. Now, I think this is exciting news. I think this is really cool. If you did not know, esports is actually labeled as a sports visa. You know, when you do like an official, you know, like I'm a professional wrestler and I have to apply for a specialty visa. Esports is labeled as a sport now. When you apply for esports to go to another country, let's say you are a StarCraft player, one of the very best, and you go to America to compete to get a visa, you are an athlete. You are considered an athlete now. And now this is just recognizes it to an even larger level that these people, while there was such bad connotations to video games like 30 years ago, now people realize like there is a skill involved in some of this stuff. These people train and they are athletes. They have trainers, they have coaches, they have full teams. I don't know if you've seen a sporting esports event recently. A League of Legends event draws an insane volume of people.
League of Legends, the World Championships, it draws like 60,000 people. There's like a halftime show. There's like musical performances. It's a spectacle. So the fact that esports has finally made its way to the Olympics, to me is very exciting because again, the top players in the world in any capacity when it comes to gaming is something that I think should be showcased. And I think this is super exciting. I'm definitely going to be watching. I'm definitely going to be watching.
For sure. And of course, like, as exciting this is, there is also some concerns from some people, mostly with the location. People believe that, like, okay, like, video games is an all-inclusive place, an all-inclusive world. Is Saudi Arabia just the location for it? Like, will they allow certain things? And so the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, has come out and defended its decision, saying that with regards to LGBTQ players and so on, within the context of this, it is the Olympics, and it will be on the Olympic Charter rules, which means there will be zero discrimination against any player of gender, sexuality, or religion. So, while some people might have some concerns, this may also be a good thing in the grand scope of things and kind of open up the world to, you know, to the world, to be honest, to more people and to more religions and more faith and just different people. So, still a lot of ways until next year, and there's still a lot of times this could change, but this is a 12-year plan. Like, this is, I think, what the future of video games will be for us. It will slowly, I think once people realize it can be competitive on a national level, but even on an Olympic level, I think you're going to see more people take it seriously, and this could drive a ton of new content, but also drive, I think, in a lot of ways, drive the video game industry forward as well.
Yes, even more so. And it's already the most successful entertainment platform on the planet. So the fact that it's now being showcased at an Olympic level is just incredible. And I'm so happy to hear that the Olympics are sticking by that stance. That's really good to hear.
And also, like, not to keep going on this, but a lot of people also were like, well, couldn't this be held elsewhere? You know, just to ease on some of, like, the concerns people have. And it was calculated that if it had not been for Saudi Arabia's financial investment, likely we probably would not get an Olympic esports thing, just on the cost of it, and also like there's an interest, but I also think esports is still a small niche, but this is the step forward to making it more of a global thing, right?
Yes, 100%.
So anyways, very exciting news, and also, if you don't know, the Olympics are on right now in Paris. Go check out. I'm a gymnastics and judo guy. I'll always check that stuff out. Do take your time and do that. Right back to Elden Ring. Well, we have some Elden Ring news. An Elden Ring speedrunner by the name of Distortion2.
I know Distortion.
Former world record holder has announced a $10,000 reward for the person who has the fastest Shadow of the Erdtree completion, but it comes with some requirements. You have to be level 1, which, insane. I don't know how you're going to do that. You have to have limited scattered tree levels. That is the stuff that is exclusive to the DLC. You can level up, but if it's not for the scattered tree, you will not make a large dent into some of these enemies. And you are not allowed any base game weapons. So it has to be DLC weapons only. That means there is no Blasphemous Blade. There's no Bloodhound Fang. I don't know if you're allowed. I don't know if you're allowed a Mimic Tier. You only can use the new DLC weapons, the new DLC items at level 1. It all starts from Michaela's Cocoon at Moggs. But the second you interact with that and jump into the DLC, it is up to them on how they can speed run through it. You know, obviously there's glitching formats. There's all kinds of ways of doing it. They have until August 11th to figure out the best route. And then Distortion 2 will look at your save file and confirm the speed run through his Discord, I believe. And a $10,000 reward will be given out. Wow. That's a lot of money, especially for speedrunners.
That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. And Distortion is someone I actually got to play some games with before. Again,
really?
I've mentioned Grand Pooh Bear.
Yeah.
Yep, mentioned Grand Pooh Bear multiple times. Well, at one point, me, Grand Pooh Bear, and Distortion all played Outriders together. It was like a sponsored video where we got to play this really fun game. But I have been a fan of Distortion for a really long time. He's one of the best Soulsborne players in the world. The guy, as far as content-wise, is just an absolute joy to watch. He is so, so good. So I think it's really, really cool that he's doing this contest. And again, $10,000 is a lot of money. That's a lot of money. So that's really, really exciting. I'm excited to see who pulls the W.
And for someone like him to do this, he must, I mean this with no disrespect to everyone else, he must think this is an impossible feat. Like, he is torturing speedrunners to do this, because this is an extremely difficult, like, as someone who's level 170 with all Mimic Tier and base weapons, and I'm having a hard time, this is going to be extremely hard. But
what a challenge.
Not for everyone, because obviously there are still people out there that are doing zero death runs. There was this big one. We talked about this shortly beforehand, but Miss Mika, she's a Twitch streamer, finished the DLC, completed the DLC by defeating the boss, the final boss, but 2 at the same time. So just so you understand, 2 screens. One screen, she's playing with her controller. Straight conventional way, beats the final boss. But simultaneously, on a dance pad with her feet, she's playing a second screen and fighting the boss. And there's a video out there. Insane. It's insane. And there's a video out there. She murders the final boss on both screens at the exact same time with her feet in her hands. Just so you understand the complexity of this, it took her 685 deaths on both screens.
Wow.
To get there. And most of those deaths were the final boss. More than a third of those deaths were the final boss.
Unreal.
And she would track her heart rate through this. Her highest peak of heart rate while playing both was 166 beats per minute. Because that is how stressed she was.
God.
So Do go check out that video. It is super impressive. Watch out these Elden Ring DLC speed runs and no death runs are insane. To give you an idea, she beat this with a level 194, and she was using the Giant Crusher, which is one of the newer weapons. Either way, insane.
Wow.
An insane feat. I would suggest watching it. That final run is while it's already an impossible feat to beat him and beat him on a Game Pass, she does it at the exact same time. The coordination to do that is incredible.
Yes, the focus, the coordination, the practice, all of that is just absolutely unbelievable. So yes, everybody who's listening or watching this right now, please check it out because me and Uno have both seen it. It's an incredible feat.
Yeah, it's
incredible.
Insane. It's truly I don't know what to say other than I can't imagine doing a dance pad thing for Mario. I can't imagine doing it for Elden Ring. Nope. Please go out of your way, go check that out. But that's not all. Yes. We have other news for this week. Yeah, seriously. Miss Mika, the world's better than both of us for sure.
Yes.
Some more news. It seems I know you may have seen teasers for this over the last year, but finally you could basically play a brand new Fallout game right now if you have Fallout 4 on PC. There's a new Fallout 4 mod called Fallout London, and they took the Fallout 4 engine, I believe, and made a completely new game. We're talking 200 quests, 20 factions, 7 new companions, 15 boroughs crafted from scratch, all in London. It has dialogue trees. It has voice acting for all their major characters. It's set in a different timeline. So, as the bomb happens here, it's in London and the vault opens at a later time. They say it has about 90 hours of content. And that's free. I believe at least, if you have the capabilities of modding your Fallout 4, you can get Fallout 4 London right now. Go check it out. There's trailers online. It's an impressive feat for what is essentially an unofficial video game.
Right. The modding community is so amazing. I actually, one of my goals this year has been to dive more so into mods because you see all these different amazing things that people can do and make like brand new games. Again, like you're saying with Fallout 4 London, and again, going back to like Elden Ring or Dark Souls. I know someone made practically a Dark Souls 4 with the Dark Souls 3 engine with all new bosses. So this is so cool, especially with how hot Fallout is right now with the TV show. This sounds amazing. I definitely want to jump into this at some point.
Yeah, I will definitely. I very rarely jump into modded stuff just because.
Me too.
Until maybe like 3 years ago, I just had no understanding of how it would work, and now I've like pieced together how to do it without potentially ruining my computer. And so, I will probably try this out for sure because I liked Fallout 4 a lot. I could not get into Fallout 76. I just didn't scratch the itch I wanted. But I would get really invested in a new Fallout game. So to know that there's like essentially one out there, I want to try out for sure.
Absolutely.
And then our final, there's been more news, but our final piece of news that interests us, Nintendo has expanded their keychain. They do like bottle cap stuff that you put a coin in and you can get like a bottle cap into like a little toy device. Well, they made keychains recently where it's controller button collections. So you can get just like, let's say, the D-pad from an NES on your keychain, or you can get just the B and A buttons, or you can get like the Y, X, A, and B buttons from a Super NES. They did the GameCube as well. But the thing that's very interesting about this is that these are not just buttons that you can have on your keychain. These are actual buttons from the controllers that you can use to replace the controller with. So you could get a keychain with an N64 analog, and if your N64's analog is broken, that keychain can replace that analog if you know how to fix it. And essentially, they've created a way to simplify the process of fixing your old controllers.
Yes.
While simultaneously just doing it as a cool little like thing for you to have on the side. So it's a very interesting market that they've jumped into, because I think all of us own. I have so many controllers that don't work anymore, and but even if it was purely on an aesthetic thing, I like the idea of just having like the 4 SNES buttons on my keychain. But now knowing that I could use those and maybe potentially fix a controller on top of that, there'll probably be a lot of people out there. I know most people will just buy these and never even think twice of a secondary
to collect
use.
them.
But to a lot of people who know how to do this, this is like shattering news, because you don't need to go and find stuff online anymore. You don't need to buy a brand new controller. You don't need to try and fix it with like third-party parts. These are official licensed parts that you can now fix your controllers with. A very interesting market to jump into for sure.
Yes, very interesting. I think, generally speaking, most passionate video game players are indeed collectors as well. So regardless of the fact that it could replace your controller, like you said, Uno, I feel like people are going to want to collect these to add to their keychain or just to have as collector's items. But the fact that they are like the double whammy of, if you know what you're doing, being able to replace these buttons or these joysticks or whatever, that is so cool. That's so awesome. I think it's a brilliant idea by Nintendo, especially from a collector's standpoint, but certainly having that advantage of being able to replace some maybe not so good parts on your old controllers is pretty darn cool.
And so like right now, these are only available in the gacha machines. What I was talking about, it's like these bottle cap machines. You get like essentially a plastic tube with an item in it. They're very popular in Japan, so right now they're in Tokyo, Osaka, Kyoto, specifically in Nintendo stores. But like these are going to be, not only are they cool things to fix your controller, these collector items will be things of importance over time, because like someone's going to try to get all of these because there's a limited supply, because there's only so many of each. Like it I don't know why, but the gacha nature of it, the fact that I can get it in a bottle and you can't choose what you're going to get, it makes me want to go to Japan and try to get them all. I don't know why. Like my brain is like, I must own them.
I know.
So yeah, very, very cool of Nintendo for doing this. I kind of want some for myself, if I'm being honest.
Me too. Certainly. Let's go to Japan, Uno.
Let's go start
our collection.
All Elite Arcade goes to Japan. Yeah. I'm sure I'm sure my boss will love to pay for that bill. Well, that's it for the news for this week, but that's not all. Right after this break, we will be answering the community mailbag questions. That's right. Your questions, we answer them right after this. And we're back. Welcome to the community mailbag. That's right. This is our favorite segment. Our favorite segment by far. We love when you all send us some questions, and you can send your questions. All you got to do is tbs.com/arcade mailbag. Go to your web browser. Go to tbs.com/arcade mailbag. And join our many viewers who have sent their questions and had them read on an episode of All Elite Arcade. You can ask us anything. We get anything. Some of the most interesting questions we get are from here. And we've got 4 this week. I will get started. This one is from Donnie. This is a 2-parter. Hey, Chugs and Uno. What have been your major gaming highlights from the last 5 years? It could be games that you played. It could be a certain boss fight, a product launch, a moment in a video game, or an event that you went to. And part 2... Uno, I know you're a busy guy being an AEW wrestler and promoter for Mystery Wrestling. Thank you. But are you planning to get back to Twitch streaming? I'll answer this one quickly. Every week I say I will be. Yes. I am going to go back to playing video games. I'm just in a hotel with not great internet for the week.
Yes.
I just need to get to a location and get back into, much like Chugs, I need to get into a regular schedule back again. But yes, I will be streaming again. Back to the original question, though. Last 5 years, what have been some of your gaming highlights, Chug?
Ooh. So, Uno, it's funny that you bring up streaming because, again, we are in a similar position right now. They're different, but they're similar in the sense of we both desperately want to get back to streaming. And I mean this wholeheartedly. The highlight as far as gaming goes for me was starting my Twitch stream. It really was. I started March 30th, 2020, in the middle of the pandemic. I finally was like, okay, I have no more excuse. I got to teach myself how to do this. I wanted to interact with more people who were also passionate about video games. So that was a huge highlight for me. But off the top of my head, like some really special moments for me that a lot of them do involve Twitch streaming was like finishing Ghost of Tsushima on stream was really cool because I remember in this stream, I was going to stream for like 3 hours. And then I felt like I was getting closer and closer to the end. So I ended up streaming like 6 hours and we finished the game, which was really, really cool. Playing and experiencing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth on stream was so exciting. Playing Elden Ring for the first time was really exciting. But I think overall, if I had to pick one, it absolutely was starting Twitch streaming and getting to hang out with the Chugs Army for sure. That's been the most important thing to me.
For me, it's very similar. We started our journeys on. Well, I actually Twitch streamed over 13 years ago originally.
Yes.
When the platform first started, I was doing it every single morning at 6 a.m. for 2 hours for like a year and a half. But more recently, about the same time as you, the pandemic really made a lot of us get back into essentially stuff from home. Right? We were trying to find a vehicle to share what we like, and Twitch streaming was mine. Like, I really liked playing video games. I loved interacting with people. I loved, like, I did, like, full run-throughs of Simpson Hit and Run for the GameCube. Like,
oh, nice.
That's one of my favorite ones. I remember our Among Us streams that we would do with everyone. Like, those are some of my favorite moments from being a Twitch streamer, for sure. But not only that, I've been very fortunate. I've played incredible games over the last few years, some great boss fights. But to me, I got to go for a week to Germany to be at Gamescom, one of the largest, if not the largest, video game convention in the world. And to meet like-minded people, to meet gamers from around the world, to see video games before they come out, play. I got the opportunity to play a lot of stuff months and months before it ever saw the light of day. I met so many incredible people. I saw an incredible country. Like, that week of going to Gamescom may be one of my best video game experiences of all time. And I would definitely recommend, if you get the chance, go to one of your large gaming cons. You will be surrounded by people who have the same passion as you. And one of my favorite things is falling upon like an independent game I've never heard of and being completely blown away by someone who has an original concept. And like, you can get that at PAX. I've done PAX East, PAX West. Those are a lot of fun. Tokyo Game Show, you could do that as well. But mine was that 1 week of Gamescom. Still one of my highlights of the last 5 years.
I bet. That's awesome. Great question. Question.
Thank you very much.
Army, I miss you and I love you. Mwah. Seriously. I promise I'll be back as soon as I can.
He's trying. He's trying real hard.
I'm trying. I really am.
Well, this next question's gonna rub you the wrong way. This one's from Mick. Mick says, "Yo, Uno and Chugs. First of all, love the podcast. Thank you very much. I find it hard to keep track of everything going on in the gaming world, but I look forward to Monday mornings because I get to hear you guys talk about the headlines. We also like doing it. It's our best way to. It's our best vehicle to get caught up for us, for sure.
Easily.
This one's a question for Chugs. Do you have any advice for someone who is about to pack up and move their life across the country like myself? I currently live in Dallas, but I just accepted a job in Bismarck, and I will be moving at the end of August. I am nervous as hell, especially because I easily have about $50,000 in video games, Magic cards, and Warhammer stuff that I have to move. Any advice would be appreciated."
Wow. What a question, all things considered. First of all, congratulations on your new job. That's very exciting.
Yeah.
But the most important thing for sure, absolutely do your research and make sure that you find a company that is trustworthy, that has a bunch of really, really good reviews. And unfortunately, this is kind of something I learned, but I feel like in a lot of cases with situations like this, you do indeed get what you pay for. So even if it's a little bit more expensive, and I know it can be expensive and I know it can be stressful, obviously if it's a situation where you can do it with people that you trust and people that you love and people that you know are going to take care of your stuff, that's the most ideal situation. But otherwise, again, finding a company that is reputable and trusted with a lot of really good reviews, they won't do you wrong. I unfortunately went through kind of a rough situation, but I believe that your moving situation will be a good one. I really do. I really do. So best of luck to you in your move, because I'm dealing with it now, but it can be very stressful. So good luck. Good luck.
If I can have a second,
I got my fingers and toes crossed for you. I got my fingers and toes crossed.
As someone who is going through it, I'm sure you want that. You want our friend Mick to do as well as humanly possible.
Dude,
but Mick,
you're gonna have a great move, man.
Yeah.
You're gonna have a great move, Mick.
My secondary, I would say, if there are things you value a lot, take pictures of it before you pack it up. Take account of what you care about, because you never know. You never know.
Yep.
You want to make sure you have proof of that stuff.
Yes.
Best of luck. Congratulations, though, on the move. It's an exciting thing for sure.
It is.
And hopefully yours comes without any headaches.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Mick, for the question.
Yeah, thank you, Mick.
We got 2 left. This one's by Turbo Kid. Hey, Chugs and Uno, I'm going to jump on the bandwagon of requesting a game for you guys to play together. All right.
Ooh.
Earth Defense Force 6 launches at the end of August 25th, and I personally guarantee you guys would love the game. If you've never played an EDF game before, it's pure Japanese arcade mayhem where you fight thousands of giant bugs, aliens, kaijus with insane weapons and vehicles. It's basically Helldivers 2, but a little jankier and way more over the top. Check out the series when you get the chance. Thanks. Great recommendation, Turbo Kid. I've actually watched a friend play the previous version, and that game seems insane. It is quite literally. It's like Starship Troopers, essentially. You show up as one of many like soldiers against a bunch of giant bugs.
Incredible.
I you know what? Thanks for the recommendation. I didn't know that was actually coming out next month. I will play it.
I didn't either. Yes, I would love to play it as well. You sold me on it.
Yep.
You sold that recommendation. Definitely got me excited to want to check this out. Uno, I'd love to play it with you.
Yeah,
I'd love to play it with you. That'd be awesome.
Well, you know what? Well, hopefully by August, both of us will be situated in a way
I know,
that we can both Twitch stream. But yes, Turbo Kid, I will definitely give that a shot. Thank you so much for the recommendation.
Yes.
And this one comes from Will. It's our final question of the day. It says, hey guys, if you were open to an arcade, what are your mandatory video games that need to be in that arcade? Also, what are your favorite arcades that you've been to? There's some pinball arcades. There's a museum of pinball arcade in Vegas. Incredible spot. In just outside of Chicago, the Galloping Ghost is an immense arcade. Maybe the biggest arcade in the world. I might be wrong on that. But practically everything you want to play is in that arcade. If you spend time in Chicago for more than a day, go out of your way. I think it's only like a $10 or $20 for free play all day. It's well worth your time. Chugs, if you had to build an arcade, what arcade cabinets would be there?
So first and foremost, I do want to say this, and this will not include the 3 arcade cabinets that I will mention. But I do agree with you in the sense of pinball should be in arcades.
Agreed.
Now, I know indeed pinball machines are not necessarily quote-unquote video games, but pinball played a huge factor in the history of video games as far as arcades in general. So pinball machines are very, very important. So I love a good pinball machine or two within a video game arcade. Mm-hmm. But if I were to pick like a top 3, I think the first one off the top of my head would be a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in Time machine.
Yeah.
To me, that is the greatest beat 'em up arcade game of all time. I love that game so much. So I'd want a Turtles in Time machine in there. I would also want a Time Crisis 2 machine in there, which, again, I love Time Crisis. And I remember being so blown away by Time Crisis 2 because when you would shoot the light gun, the gun would actually cock back.
Yes.
So it was so wild to actually play a game like that. And then also, I'd throw DDR. Like when I think of arcades, I do think of DDR, and I remember standing around and watching people who were really, really good playing a DDR game, which was awesome. And then honorary mention NFL Blitz. NFL Blitz.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I will, because I'm curious. Have you ever played DDR yourself?
I have.
I'm terrible at it. I, as someone who is rhythm in wrestling, I have zero rhythm when it comes to this dancing game. I've always been very fascinated by it because I think that it has like the high bar for it is insane. I like watching people play the insane DDR tracks. My body just cannot comprehend the movement. I can't decipher that quickly.
Yes, and some of the extreme expert levels, it's like it gets to a point where I feel like, is there even a rhythm to it? Yes. I'm going to be honest. Like with how quickly some people have to, it's so impressive. But as far as having rhythm, I'm like, oh my God, you're just stepping constantly. But yes, I'm the same as you, Uno. Like I could play on normal. I was pretty good on normal, but when it came to expert, forget about it. I was done.
I'm gonna go with the outlook that we're having a shared arcade here because like you hit a lot of the major markets on here.
Big ones.
You mentioned Turtles in Time. My two other favorite beat 'em up arcade cabinets are the 4-person Simpson arcade cabinet. I'm a huge Simpson fan. I think I've beaten that arcade cabinet at every single arcade I've ever been to. If it hasn't, I play it to completion every time.
Wow.
Yes, I love that. Like they have a arcade 1-up cabinet, like the smaller versions that I've wanted to own, but I still think I'd much rather just buy the real cabinet and own it. And then my dream cabinet of a beat 'em up is there's an X-Men beat 'em up game, but there's a 4-player one, but the one that I've always dreamed about owning is they have a large 6-person table where you have an extended roster. You have Dazzler, you've got Colossus, Wolverine, Cyclops, Nightcrawler. I'm missing one more. But like
I know exactly what you're talking about, Uno.
It's since I've been a kid, one of my goals in life is to own one of those cabinets. There was a time I could have bought one, but I just couldn't justify essentially spending $10,000 on one with like transport and everything, and then like fixing some of the components. But my arcade cabinet would have those beat 'em ups. We already have DDR in this one, and we already have a light gun shooter. Time Crisis is one of the best. I think we need Guitar Hero needs to be in there. The arcade cabinet Guitar Hero. That's always always a great time at the arcade. And because we don't have a fighting game, I think we need Marvel vs. Capcom 2, the arcade. My personal favorite arcade cabinet when it comes to fighting games. I like Marvel vs. Capcom 3, but man, when I see a Marvel vs. Capcom 2 and I could be Blackheart, I want in. I want to play that game right then and now.
Dude, Uno, I think me and you should open up an arcade. I think we got a great list. Yeah. We got a great list right here.
I would definitely attend our arcade for sure. Hey, let us know in the comments down below what your favorite arcade cabinets are. We only listed a small amount.
Bare bones.
We didn't touch Grandia. We didn't even touch Pac-Man. Any of like the classics. Let us know what are your favorites when you go to an arcade, and also let us know what your favorite local arcades are as well. We're always traveling. I'm always in an arcade. Do let us know where we can play our arcade classics in the future. Yes. Chugs, I know you're not Twitch streaming anytime soon, but hopefully you said there's a slight chance, right? There's a slight chance at the end of this week.
I really do hope, honest to God, Uno, twitch.tv/TheCHUGS. This has been the longest string of time I have gone without streaming, which has been incredibly rough for me. For anyone who's in the Chugs Army and anyone who watches my streams, you guys know how much streaming means to me. So this has been rough. But I really, really am confident and hoping that by the time next week's episode airs, I will be back on stream. So that is the plan, obviously. So fingers and toes crossed once again. And hopefully I'll be seeing you guys on stream in addition to next week's episode of All Elite Arcade.
Well, I'm done doing promises about Twitch streaming because every week I tell you I'm going to, and then every week I don't. But you know what you should do? Just follow me on all my social medias, Evil Uno, and I will let you know if I Twitch stream, because I'm pretty sure what's going to happen, I'll get into a hotel, it'll finally have decent internet, and I'm just going to go, that's it, this is it, I'm going online right away. So do follow us on both of our socials, and follow AW Games every single social of all, except for Instagram, that's Play AW Games. Follow our content. We obviously have been releasing seasons of AW Fight Forever. We have our mobile games, and we have other projects in the works coming up. So make sure you follow those so that you can be notified. That's it for this week's All Elite Arcade. We will be back next Monday, where you listen to your podcast, or at youtube.com/AWGames if you want to see the video format. We will see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.